So let's have a little chat today. I want to talk about what it's like to go to a conference as an introvert. It really sucks, but it doesn't have to be that way. Now, the reason I say that is because I have experience with this. And one thing we have to keep in mind is that introverts and extroverts isn't about being shy or outgoing. It's really about where we derive our energy from. The shy or outgoing parts, that just has to do with our behavior, and we can change our behavior. Now, when I was a young developer, I had the opportunity to go to a lot of conferences, and it was really cool because I did learn a lot in the sessions. But I missed kind of the big point of being there, and that's talking to the other people at the conference. Why? Well, I wasn't confident to walk up to somebody and start a conversation. And that really was a detriment to me. I know it doesn't look like it now, but I am an introvert. I'm more comfortable having lunch by myself than with a big group of people. And that made meal times at conferences especially terrifying. I remember walking into the banquet room, and there's just all of these tables to choose from. I really didn't want to go sit by myself because, that looks a little pathetic. And so, I ended up at a lot of different tables over time. There were tables that had a lot of people sitting at them having a great conversation. And I think, you know what, I'll go sit there because then I can observe the conversation without being part of it. Then I find out they all work for the same company and they're talking about work, and it really isn't that beneficial to me. And there's nothing I can contribute either. So there's other times where I go and I find a table where there's two people talking to each other. I go up and I join them. And then I find out that they're talking in Swedish. And that's when I learned that my childhood did not prepare me as much as I thought it did. But that's not the way I am today. And the reason for that is because of my eye-opening experience. Now, this was about 5 years ago, and I was at a code camp in Los Angeles, and it was at USC, so big, beautiful campus. And, at lunchtime, I got my food and went out, and there was this big grassy quad where everybody was eating by themselves. Developers were just kind of scattered evenly across this big grassy quad. And, people were sitting by themselves because that's what we're comfortable with. And you know what? That was my first inclination too. But, there was something that I saw in front of me, just, hundreds of people all sitting by themselves. And I'm like, well, you know what? I can't do that. So I went up and found someone and I said, do you mind if I join you? And we started a conversation. And after that, an interesting thing happened. Other people came up and joined us. One by one, someone would come up, sit down, listen to our conversation for a while. Then they might make an exploratory comment. And then after a while, they got comfortable and they become a full part of the conversation. And this happened over and over and over again. And by the time lunchtime was over, there were 2 circles of 8 people. And I wasn't even looking at the person that I sat down with originally. And that's when I discovered, you know what? Developers like to talk, but they don't like to start the conversation. And I've seen this progression over and over and over again. I go to a user group, and again, my first time there, my inclination is, well, let me just try to fade into the corner and wait for someone to talk to me. But I say, you know what? I'm going to go introduce myself to somebody. And I say, hi, my name is Jeremy. What do you do? What kind of technologies are you working with? And then someone else comes up, joins the circle. And again, they'll be quiet at first, just listening to the conversation. And then they put out that exploratory comment to see if they'll be accepted by the group. And then eventually, they're part of the conversation, driving topics. And, it's an interesting experience because we think, oh, people don't want to talk. They're introverted. They're sitting by themselves. They're fine. They're just there with their computer. But the reality of the situation is we do like to talk. We're just afraid to start that conversation. So you know what? Change your behavior. It's easy to do, and it's the most terrifying thing you will ever do. But you know what? It gets easier. So I've made this discovery. It was a while back. It's been like 5 years since I made this discovery. Now I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. And in fact, you find me in a registration line or in a lunch line, I'm going to be talking to somebody. And that's just the way that I am now. And I'm amazed at the relationships that I've built. I'm amazed at the knowledge that I've gained by talking to people working on technologies I'm not working on. And I'm just amazed at how much bigger my world has become from just talking to other developers. So I have a challenge for you. Meet someone new. That's it. Meet someone new. Go up and introduce yourself. Ask what kind of technologies they're working on and see where things go from there. Now you might find there's awkward pauses. That's okay. In fact, let's make a game of awkward pauses. Every time there's an awkward pause, just say out loud, awkward pause, and make a tick mark in your notebook. And it's okay. And sometimes conversations fizzle out. That's fine. Just move on to someone else. Good luck.